Nice.
Oh.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yay!
Hello. So hello, everyone. I'm George Shaw. So happy to have you guys here. We are the creators of Star Wars Musical. It's a fan film that spoofs Star Wars as if it was a Disney musical. So just to introduce real quick, we've got Jeffrey G. Chin, the director. He's the leap man. And then there's Tim Fitzsimmons, who plays Luke. And then Andrew Bowen, who plays Han Solo. So welcome, guys.
And then
Thank you,
George, who's the musical maestro and creative genius.
I wrote, produced it, and arranged all the music. But I primarily work as a composer for film and TV.
Mm-hmm. He actually spent most of the time just auto-tuning me. That was his primary job.
So,
Andrew, you weren't supposed to let this may be behind the scenes, but not that behind the scenes.
Actually, one cool thing is Andrew actually played Han Solo on Mad TV many years ago. So
I did.
He had the experience to get the gig. You know,
it was funny. I kind of feel like that might have been one of the things that actually kind of closed the deal when I was testing for the show, because I was at Fox and I had put together a handful of things to do, and one of the things that I did was Han Solo running, and I would tell people that and they'd be like, "What?" And then but I did right at the end of my test, I was like, "Okay, everybody, just come look out in the hallway." And I literally got like 25 executives to get out of their fucking seat and come to the hallway at Fox. And I went to one end and I said, "This is Keanu Reeves running," and I ran past them as Keanu. And then I turned back around. I said, "And this is Harrison. This is Han Solo running." And I ran past them, and they were just cackling.
That video of you running in the parking lot as Han Solo, I died. I was dying.
And again, I apologize to Jeffrey George, because it's not. It's just so you can't help but nerd out if you're in that stuff, and you put on the costume and you're just like, you just can't. It was like being on crack, and probably not very fun for the others, but yeah, it was me running around and all that crap.
We loved every minute of it.
How have you guys been doing during this pandemic and everything?
Well, I've been doing all right. I normally live in New York City, but I'm originally from Los Angeles. I was initially supposed to perform at Knott's Berry Farm for the summer, but that got canceled due to COVID. But I've been out in LA since April, just spending time with family and kind of taking a reset, taking a break from everything, and just kind of playing some video games, watching things, hanging out with certain friends, and just trying to weather through, I guess.
Yeah, video gaming is that's nice. That's nice. It's definitely a place to escape to.
Oh, for sure. I just recently got a PlayStation 4 and Spy, and
I
devouring that recently. They perfected web slinging, and so it's I literally could just swing through for hours.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you guys? George, what have you been doing?
So I've been super busy, but as a creative, I get to create something every day, which is awesome. I finished a 13-year project of composing music for a feature Indiana Jones fan film. I've also been actually working on a sequel to Star Wars Musical, so hopefully that will we'll show a little teaser at the end of this panel. Nice. And then I finished an album of Star Wars lullabies. So all John Williams themes as just relaxing versions. So I'm excited to put that out later this fall.
Wow.
And right now I'm working on an animated film.
With that one, though.
How about you, Jeff?
So I was out in India through mid-March, and then this whole crisis happened. I was working on a feature out there. And then, but being back and having to stay inside, I've been able to catch up on a lot of projects. So I finished a graphic novel, actually. So it was inspired by John Lewis's March, but I did it about a Japanese civil rights leader who was living in Los Angeles and telling his story. Him pairing up with a Black civil rights leader and white attorney as well. So
wow.
So we finished that,
awesome.
and then I'm publishing a book, and then I'm just writing a lot right now. So yeah.
Awesome. So, hey, let me actually give the viewers a little taste of what we've done in case they haven't seen what our musical is about.
Hi, everybody, for joining in. I can't tell who's here and who's not, but
yes.
All right,
thanks for coming.
So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you guys a little look at our VFX process. So everything was shot on green screen. Actually, why don't you talk a little bit about that while I set this up, Jeff?
Oh, cool. Yeah, so this whole project we actually shot on green screen. We couldn't really afford to build full sets. And so one of the ideas at the very beginning was, maybe we should bring everyone out to the beach to go so we can pretend that it's Tatooine, or we're going to have to use some cardboard hand-painted backdrops or try to find a set. But instead, we actually found it more efficient to get some friends to paint sort of Disney-inspired backgrounds and then transfer that into 2.5D, sort of like a classic Disney animation, and it turned out pretty nicely.
yeah, it turned out amazing.
Cool. All right.
So here we go.
Here's a quick look. Hopefully the sound doesn't suck. And here's our musical.
By the way, that's George singing as Darth Vader into a trash can and a tube, cardboard tube, I think.
Really? Wow.
It kills me every time.
One with the Force.
There it is.
Yeah,
That him hitting the buttons
it's the best.
is just
Because we all
best.
wanted to
And
do
I
that.
know-
Like, who hasn't wanted to just go, oh, shit, it's Darth Vader. I'm probably going to die, but just touch the buttons.
Glenn will eject him out of his suit.
man. That, and I think wasn't there an outtake where or a shot where the two of them were doing a thumb war
Oh, yeah.
or something?
Well, George, I think you won on the nerd-outed background. Because behind you just won. Like, I love the R2 breaking through the wall thing. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Just,
Thanks.
Mhm.
Actually, Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about that sort of green screen process?
Yeah, so we shot at the studio called Zaw Studios out in, was it Monterey Park, San Gabriel? Somewhere out there.
Somewhere around there, yeah. Yeah, it was Monterey Park.
And
It was hot.
but it was completely controlled set, and what we were shooting on was this sort of green, what do you call it? Baking paper. It's basically green screen roll. Like, it's almost like you're going to a hospital to get an operation, and it's the type they tear off the bed when you're done. So we had like a 6-foot roll that we literally had to shoot everything on. Luckily, it actually reacts to the light really well, so everything comes out very balanced. And since we had been doing concept art, as you saw, sort of those small previs images, we were able to know the lighting ahead of time before we even shot a single frame, because we knew generally what type of background we were going to work with. And so what we did was we had our little Canon T2i, and we hooked it up to a computer, and we synced the image into the computer and did what was called pre-comping, which means you can take out the green on the computer and then you can place in the temp concept art. So I think most of that time, Andrew and Tim were eating and waiting for me to figure that out.
Yeah.
But it I don't know. For me, it was a very relaxed process because we got
The whole process was the whole process was relaxed. It was really cool. It's just because I mean everybody was sort of just doing it because we loved it. So we all wanted to be there. But it was actually nice that you guys had that, because I know a lot of times for actors when you come in and they want you, they explain something. Sometimes you don't really get to see it, and for you guys, you were able to actually pull it up and say, okay, this is what it'll look like, and you're like, oh, all right, this is dope. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and it really helps for placing us and being able to figure out, okay, exactly where do I need to be to walk out of the hovel on Tatooine at the very beginning of it all. It was extremely helpful to see that and be able to use it as a reference throughout the process, especially for someone that was my first time ever on a film set. I've only really ever focused on theater, and so that being the first film set I've ever been on was it was very relaxing. It was like, oh, okay, I could get into this.
Awesome.
It's a totally different animal. So what was the genesis for this whole project for you guys?
For me, it started with the announcement of Disney buying Lucasfilm. And at the time, I remember seeing a sort of viral video of it was like Princess Leia being welcomed as a Disney princess, and so she's singing about being a Disney princess. And I was like, I would love to do something like that, just to kind of show off my musical talent. And I came up with this idea of doing.
I like to call it musical wizardry.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, so it just was like, well, what if, because it's Disney, what if they made it a musical? And so that was kind of where the idea came from. And so I started taking, Disney songs mostly, and just changing the lyrics, taking a whole new world and changing it into a Jedi world. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could just tell the whole story of Star Wars as a 5 or 6 minute musical. And also started to mash up some of the actual Star Wars tunes. So for example, actually one of my favorite ones is the Cantina Band that our Han Solo sings. And it's the actual tune, that tune, but over an under the sea kind of Jamaican kind of feel. So it was fun just mashing those two things up.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was really cool. I remember when you took me in originally and you sort of showed me some of the music that you'd been working on for it. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then I was like, but won't Disney literally hang us all? We be on a hit list. They haven't killed us yet.
Well, believe it or not, I hear from Lucasfilm execs that they have all seen this pretty much. So it got passed around through the office. Yeah.
Hire me.
And then one of my mentors at Disney Interactive said that they love this sort of stuff. So
yeah, which is great to hear. But I initially just wrote it, just not knowing what it would be. I thought maybe I would just put actors in costume on camera and just have them singing it, and then just uploading it to YouTube. And I shared the idea with Jeff, and you were like, no, this is how we're going to do it. No. And so it became this very elaborate thing with, animated, Disney, painting backgrounds and actors on green screen and all this. So it really, thank you, Jeff. You really, really just took it to another level.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And with everyone volunteering was great. Yeah.
And for everybody who doesn't know, Jeff and George are hyper creatives. So that's why it's really hard to interact with them in real life, because they're almost transcendentally, it's cool. But yeah, super, super smart, creative. It's really great being around people like that too, because it just makes you raise up your game. So, it's really, that was one of the cool things about coming.
Well, I just have to say, Andrew is also an amazing filmmaker, and he made an awesome sci-fi short film with almost no money. And it's on Amazon Prime. It's the 7/16th. Is that right? Yeah, go check that out. Like, it's if you like Star Wars, it's got that cool, fun sci-fi feel, a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy meets MASH. Definitely go check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have a question for you guys. What was your first memory of Star Wars?
Well, I remember being in third grade and going to a sleepover, and it was my buddy David Marquez, who is now an artist for DC and Marvel Comics.
Wow.
And I'm like 8 years old or so, and it was my first time binge watching something. Like, I watched the entire trilogy that night on VHS. Wow. I was the only one that stayed up through the entire thing because I was just captivated. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I probably didn't remember much because I had to actually watch it again when the special edition came out to like really get into it, but it was definitely an amazing way to see it.
Tim?
My first memory, we were on a vacation and visiting one of my mom's friends closer to San Jose area. And the kids were all watching The Empire Strikes Back. And the memory I have is it's one of the Yoda scenes, and the dad is like in there imitating Yoda, making us laugh, and we're all enjoying it. But that's my first memory. At the same time, I had already seen Empire Strikes Back. I must have been 4 or 5 or something at the time. So I literally do not know a moment of my life where Star Wars has not been in it. I had already seen all 3 movies up to that point, and I've continued to watch them. My parents had the original VHS set with that interview with George Lucas, like the 3 parts right before each film, and then got the DVD set, and I've just been hooked ever since.
Well, I'm going to age myself because I'm the old fart. Hey, with age comes wisdom.
Sometimes.
And pain, and a lot of physical pain. I actually went to see it in the theaters. I was 6, I think, when it came out. 6 or 7. And I literally went to see it, and I remember walking out because, I mean, at that point, I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And I made my dad take me back to the theater every single day for 10 days to see it.
Wow.
And by the end of that 10 days, I was just quoting the lines and shit like that. And so, it was just, and it wasn't, it was interesting because it wasn't, I don't think it was one of those movies that made me wasn't one of those triggers for me to want to be creative. It was just like pure escapism. And I think, and what I loved about it too, and I remember growing up was that, I had all the action figures and stuff, and it wasn't, I've got my Chris Evans figure to fight with. It was Han, and it was Luke, and these characters that you could go to the beach and you could just go on an adventure with them, and it didn't matter, it didn't have to be pre-written. It was just, you wanted to be these characters. And so, yeah, I remember that. And then I remember just the hype leading up to Empire and just how it was so good. Like, it was just, it hit on every cylinder. And, by that point it was, Star Wars had become a part of everything. So, and yeah. And I was always, it was just something that was always, I've always been a huge sci-fi fan. And maybe it might even have started back then. That may have been the first one that did it. But it was just, I thought it was really cool. I just remember waiting in the lines too. I remember that too. I was waiting in line for Empire, and it was in Vermont. It was like it was around the block. Hey. It was around the block, and I remember there were so many people, and we waited for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and it didn't matter. Like it was like like sitting in that theater knowing it was going to start.
For sure,
great.
That's
for
amazing.
Sure. What about you, Jeffrey?
I think I experienced Star Wars by experiencing Endor first, because I grew up in Marin County. Near Lucas Valley, and so I went through Muir Woods as a kid, and then when I was watching Return of the Jedi, I was like, oh wow, I've been there. So, and then also Lucas used to hold these programs where they would sell software for Lucas Arts, and you could go get the latest games. So we had like Dark Forces games, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. And then during the Marin County Fair, he would bring out the Stormtroopers, and he would have an entire exhibit that you can pretty much beta test these upcoming games before they come out. And then, yeah, so we're a little spoiled in the Star Wars sort of little bit. But, and then the funny thing is, the reason why I got into the film industry was that my friend's parents, they were editors and sound designers for Lucasfilm, and they were the ones to share the screeners without copyright issues, blah, 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 of all the latest films. And they also invited me to visit the ranch. And so that is why I ended up pursuing a career in film, because they sort of helped push me towards that direction. Yeah. So,
So you've been to the ranch. You've
been to the ranch for, I think, a Ratatouille.
This is love, but it's blur. It's a blur love of hate and joy for you.
So, guys, what are your favorite or best memories from set?
Best memories from set. I mean, getting to dress up, honestly, in getting the Stormtrooper armor on and the Rebel jumpsuit for the battle over the Death Star, I think is, just childhood dreams just coming to life. I've always wanted to wear those Stormtrooper outfits, and I can attest that they are less comfortable than they are as uncomfortable as they appear. Yes. You can't really sit down.
You can't really move.
Yeah, you can barely move. They can pinch places that are not fun. But then just on top of that, I'm a musical theater actor, and when in my life did I ever think I was going to be singing Disney-esque songs about Star Wars for a film or anything other than just in my shower? So just that aspect. And lastly, working with everyone who was there, and particularly with Sean. He and I did I did most of my filming with him because it's a lot of Obi-Wan Luke stuff. And even when we filmed the second one, it was him and I a lot. And because he was Obi-Wan, and he also, does Yoda as well in the second one. And just, he is such a wonderful guy, and his nerddom and his, just how much he loves Star Wars and all forms of science fiction media and everything is just, it was inspiring and just so much fun.
His car's pretty cool too.
Oh my gosh, the car's it's so fun to be like, hey, Uncle John, is like, remember that car you sent me like 10 years ago, the picture of it? Yeah, I'm friends with the guy who owns it now.
Yeah.
So our Obi-Wan actor has a Star Wars car with like an R2 dome on it, and like it's amazing. He calls it the Z-Wings.
And he's going to upgrade, I think, and so he's been asking for designs. But Sean Crosby, he's number one Obi-Wan impersonator, and I think he does a lot of the charity events too. So that's
for Lucasfilm.
He does a lot of charity events. Yeah,
that car was pretty wicked. That car was pretty wicked. Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of the same as Tim. Getting a chance to put on the outfit was huge. I don't think I'd ever worn the Han outfit before, and there's just something about like holy crap, like I'm in it. I think that was really, really cool. I think just in general. Again, I think we had a lot of fun making it, and we were laughing a bit and having a good time. And it's always, it's the tenor on a set is always, it's everything. And so I think that Jeffrey and George, you guys set like a really great tone, and you were just really open about because we were sort of finding this as we were going. So having that loose atmosphere to be able to just sort of, know that we're having fun and we're, just sort of playing in this universe was probably the best part. I think for me, for sure.
I think I'll have to ask you guys this question, which is like, what was the worst part about working with me as a director? And also, what's your process as an actor?
Well, for me, the worst part was when
Well,
you left for half a day, and I had to feed the director.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had the rotating shot had I not been gone for that period of time.
Which is one of my favorite shots in the original, utilizing the backgrounds. I think even though it was my first time on a set, and it was such a fun experience with everyone, and I got to do that. The thing, it's very much a hurry up and wait atmosphere, especially as an actor. I know because it's like you do the scene, and then you go and wait for a long time while the next scene gets set up, and there are sometimes delays, sometimes not. It's just that was for me because I'm just like I'm dressed up and I want to be doing it, but I have to wait.
Yeah, I would say the toughest part about working with you, Jeffrey, is just that you're so loud. So loud that most of the time I had to wear earplugs.
So loud
because it was overwhelming how bellowing your voice is. No, that was for those of as you can probably tell, Jeffrey's a very, very kind of quiet spoken person. So there was challenges at times to hear what he had to say. I think I said what was that again a couple of times, but. But it was great. It was great.
And what sort of your process as an actor? Because for Tim, right, that was your first time on a film shoot, and then Andrew, we're literally shooting smaller pieces. This is not live comedy or whatever. So,
I mean, it was. I mean, for me, it was just like any other set. I mean, it was totally professional, and we knew where it was, and it's. For me, I'm always just like, let me know my boundaries, like what lens are you on and everything else like that. For me, I mean, I'd already been doing sort of a quasi Harrison Ford, I've been quietly wishing I was Han Solo since I was 6. So, I think I was just, it was just sort of enjoying being in full on swagger mode. Yeah.
For sure. For me, it was just letting the joy of becoming Luke Skywalker again. Every kid's who loves Star Wars dream, and when they're playing outside is I'm Luke Skywalker and I'm here to rescue you. I mean, it's just and being able to say some of those fun lines, but musically, and then I just try to let it all sink in and focus on, just the innocence that Luke has in that first film, and just let that kind of go through, but also remembering to have fun because, you can't not smile when that music comes on because it's familiar and it's just fun and upbeat. And then you hear a little bit of John Williams and you hear some Schwartz, you hear some Menken, and it all comes in and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, the music really is. I mean, again, hats off, but the music is just so good in it, and really and great in the sequel, which I guess I'll bring that up. So for those of you who are watching, the part 2 is coming.
Yes, it is.
So I know that the powers that be have been working on it. So George and Jeff, can you give us an update on what the status is on part 2?
We're almost there, actually. I think we're literally a couple steps from fine tuning right now, but it's really gorgeous. I think everyone's going to be really happy with it. It looks even better than the first Star Wars musical. But the whole COVID situation has slowed the pace a little bit. But I think we're hoping to, George, can I say that hopefully before the end of the year? Hopefully before the next trilogy, huh? How about that?
So actually, let me the teaser trailer for the new one.
Right.
Oh.
And here it comes.
I think we're getting a teaser, folks. Yeah.
That's not even colored yet. and
That's so the director comment. That's not colored. Like we always do that. We're like, okay, just so you know, like effects
and at
aren't
the
finished.
10-second point.
Isn't that amazing? I had that experience with it when we were doing the 7/16 that I had like one of my roughs done and it was all temporary VFX and I've got spaceships and stuff. And I remember telling everybody that, this is temporary. And I still had people at the end that were like, the effects aren't really that good. Like you might want, I'm like, no, it's not like you got to see Pat. And then I was like, okay. I'm strictly going to be people industry related in the future for those early cuts who can understand, all that stuff. But also nobody else sees it. Like nobody, I guarantee nobody who just watched this went, that color timing was awful.
So terrible. So let's talk about some of the inspiration behind and like the hidden Star Wars and Disney Easter eggs that you guys threw in, especially like those art backgrounds that were inspired by Disney, which William Wu contributed those.
Yes,
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were definitely looking
about those.
at, just as they do on Disney movies for inspiration to kind of base the style of the art. And William brought in this gorgeous book of all these beautiful actual like painted backgrounds from old Disney movies like Pinocchio and Cinderella and all that stuff. So we were looking at that, but at the same time we were like, okay, how do we where can we find inspiration for our look? And so we were looking at like Agrabah from Aladdin for being tattooing because it's very desert-like. So finding those kind of common points where we could kind of inspire the art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about some of the Easter eggs?
So if you guys watch it when Luke opens the chamber and Leia's in the room number, we based it on that CalArts room that all the Disney legends all studied at. And then there's even Mouse Droid that has Mickey Mouse ears.
No, it's so funny because when you showed the clip from the VFX, I don't think I'd ever saw that the Death Star had the ears on it.
Me neither.
I've seen this 100 times. I'm like, that's freaking great. That was just awesome.
I think it was probably the biggest frustration for George in our post process was like, Jeff, you can't keep on adding things. I was like, no, we got to do this. We got to do that. But I mean, thanks so much to George to he, even though I had a chance to grow up on Andor, George's love for everything Star Wars, John Williams, and all the Disney composers, we were able to find all these sort of nuances when we produced this. So,
yeah, and there's actually hidden Mickeys throughout the short. I don't even remember where all of them are because there's so many.
I think one of them is the sun on Tatooine for sure.
Let's see.
But then there's a fun cameo with besides earlier you heard George singing as Darth Vader. George has another cameo within Star Wars musical,
I have a quick
you?
cameo as Sulu from Star Trek. He gets force pushed away by Obi-Wan.
You know what I love too? I love the we had you had Han have a bedazzled Millennium Falcon necklace. That was just so rad. It was so rad. I was like one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, like if this ever went viral and they really went crazy, like people would buy those like all the time. I would wear that.
Wasn't that designed by the Winter Twins?
And then
No, it was
a
a studio called Optimistical Studio. They do a lot of cool jewelry. So
okay.
Do you still have that? Do you still have that?
It's on my wall.
I'm surprised you didn't steal that from set there, Andrew.
I think I tried, but I think when I did, Jeffrey he had like a bandolier thing and hit my legs, and
Got some bolas and
that's when I broke my nose on the shoot.
But we finished shooting all of it, so it's fine. So
yeah, right at the tail end.
So, what was I going to say? What were some of the biggest hurdles that you guys had to deal with getting this thing made?
I think, as we mentioned, most of the team, like all the team, was pretty much volunteer, and then I think we had to do some honorarium work for like William Wu, and that was like how much did we end up spending on the first musical, George? Only like a few thousand, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
And so like everything was volunteer. And so that means that we really depended on whatever time people were able to contribute. And even like the post process, we were working with our editor, Tyler Soper. And like literally we took over his office on the weekends and snuck in. And like we just had several computers running, sometimes rendering. And then even for coloring, so going back to color, our colorist had colored 2 of the trilogies of Star Wars.
Yeah, the special edition and prequel trilogies.
Yeah.
He's the actual colorist for Lucasfilm.
So, but all of the team is pretty much volunteer based. And so it's more about the time that takes to wait. Similarly, the Star Wars musical sequel has taken some time as well.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we shot that 3.5 years ago, and we're still.
Let's
that long? Wow.
It was I felt because being like living mainly in New York, and most everyone who's part of the production is all out here in LA. It provides that hurdle of am I available? Am I able to be there and whatnot? And George messaged me one day and was like, "Hey, are you going to be around for Christmas?" And I said, "Yes." And I don't have a return flight to out New York yet. What's up? He goes, "Well, we're going to try to film your stuff in January." So like for a couple of days, I don't remember what the studio was called, but I got to film, out there. I got to work. Which one? Yeah. And so it was so great to be able to come back and reprise it. But that's another hurdle that they were going to have to deal with, because we filmed my stuff along with Sean that week. And then everyone else, I think, filmed in April, a couple months later.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but that was January and April of 2017.
Right. But what was cool was we had a much bigger studio at Thunder Studios, because remember we had the paper that we would pull down that was like green for the first one.
Yeah,
better. Yeah, it was really funny because I remember that in the first one. I think that was the biggest hurdle, at least on the acting side, was the fact my height and the pull down green screen was not big.
It was like what, 6
I
or
don't
8
think I could
feet
even
wide?
stretch out my arms fully. So, and I'm like a hand talker. So,
and then suddenly we had this huge
So
like green screen stage that was like, I don't know, 20,
It was like
30
for
feet
shooting
long.
cars.
Yeah, and I was running in and out of frame. Which little fun fact, that opening bit of Star Wars musical where I'm walking out of the hovel, I am literally pacing in place, trying to make it look like I'm walking naturally, because if we moved too far right or left, then we would be off of that.
Yeah, it was like Blue's Clues for the first one. You're like, Blue's Clues.
Yeah, just walking in place.
Well, shout out to Joshua Ho, who actually hooked it up to get us into Thunder Studios too. Yeah.
Oh yes, thank you, Josh. Make sure to check out his fan
Yeah,
film
and
too.
we're
Star
actually doing a
Trek
panel
Wars.
on the same thing on the content creator stage at 1:15 p.m. today. So come back for that.
Ooh, hey.
So what's going on next for you guys? And what are your sort of wishes for this whole Star Wars universe? Where do you want them to go?
Wow.
It's a big question.
It's a big question. Where do I want them to go? I mean, I think what Jon Favreau did with The Mandalorian was really smart. I think that's probably some of the best Star Wars that I think we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that. As far as the bigger sort of features go, I don't know. I think I think would be cool is I hope someone can come up with an original sort of a take into this universe that maybe takes it someplace new. I mean, without, again, you don't want to forget about the past, but, I think that it would be very cool to see something, set, past everything. Because again, it still is a galaxy, a long time ago.
Focus
in a galaxy
on a
far, far
Sith
away.
character and follow them.
Yes.
There you go.
Give us a Maul. Give us a Maul movie.
I would love to see a Darth Bane movie. So if anyone doesn't know, Darth Bane is one who 2,000 years before Palpatine instituted the rule of two, and because of him, the Sith became very powerful, and thus Order 66 and all that.
Actually,
so like for me,
quick, if anyone has questions, like please put it in the chat and we'll answer those. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do I want Star Wars to go? Well, first things first, I want them to give creative control to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, both or just Dave Filoni or something, and give Favreau an entire trilogy. Just what, especially Filoni has been able, like what Filoni did with the Clone Wars series and then with Rebels, and then his first foray into live action filmmaking was The Mandalorian, and I thought he did a fantastic job. And the depth of knowledge that he demonstrated in that second episode of the Star Wars Gallery for Mandalorian about like what did the Duel of the Fates mean and how that one duel really just set everything else in motion for the rest of the saga. He's so knowledgeable, and I think that he would be the perfect choice to create a new trilogy or even become like the Kevin Feige-esque character of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. The guy guiding the ship forward. Yeah,
basically,
I agree with that.
Basically the showrunner of a new saga or a new set of movies.
For me, my favorite aspect of Star Wars is sort of the mysteries of the Force and the history of the Jedi and the Sith. And so, for me, I love the Clone Wars and Rebels because they actually kind of delve more into that. So for me, any kind of animated series that can go deeper into this stuff, I would been dying to see more of the Old Republic and kind of the origins of kind of the Jedi Order and all this stuff. So I would love to see that.
I think in general, I think they got a pretty huge canon to work from. So I think that I think that, which I think sort of is happening anyways. I mean, I really think as COVID passes and there's never going to be going back to normal, and there shouldn't be. Which I really think that I think where we're going is going to be just a real a renaissance of original storytelling and original. I think people are ready for that. It's been time, and I think there's so much in there that I think all those things. I think everything that you've just said. There's great stories there, so I think that there's a lot that they can go into.
We should do the Jedi Knight adaptation with Kyle Katarn. Katarn with Andrew playing him. It's
done. You've just heard it. Let's do it.
Let's will it into existence, folks.
Sounds great. Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay. We're definitely going to talk after our thing today because
we got some decisions to make.
Although
folks.
doesn't Kyle Katarn take place right after Return of the Jedi, and when Luke creates a Jedi Academy and all that, and therefore that never happened. So I don't know how that all how you would work that into the canon.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some nostalgia value. Yeah.
We could figure something out. We could definitely figure something out. I think that's the thing that's cool about Star Wars is that, even like with The Mandalorian, they managed to really do that entire first season without really hinting at anything that we had seen before, but they put it within that universe. That I think that there's stories to be told within little pockets of the universe.
Yeah.
You know, I love that idea of the Star Wars being this big gigantical backdrop, but you can tell these really intimate stories, knowing that there's this giant thing going on in you know, outside the door. So
And one thing they haven't explored yet is the Sith temple with the vampires, the undead Sith. And so I thought that's what they were going to do for this last film, but the only undead one was Palpatine. But okay.
Well, they do have undead Night Sisters in the Clone Wars, so kind of the Force witches. So anyways, Joshua Ho asked, how did everyone meet? So I'll kind of dig into that. I met Jeffrey at a film festival many years ago, and we've become really close friends, and so we work on everything together. Tim, let's see, I met the Winter Twins. I forget how I met them, but they are very young, like sci-fi writers. In fact, they published their first sci-fi novel when they were 14 or something.
Like 11 or 12 or something.
And they were friends with you, Tim, and they came on to help produce this project. And I think how did they know you?
One of my friends was actually dating Brianna at the time. The two twins are Brianna and Brittany. A friend of mine was dating Brianna. And so through him, I got to know their family and everything. And I got this text message or an email that's coming from Brittany out of the blue, just like, hey, I know you're a singer. What kind of a singer are you? And I'm a tenor. And she's like, what does that mean? And I kind of explained it's, higher voice. The higher voice, if you're a low voice of a male, it's normally.
So you sing high for a male.
Yes. And
it's where you want to be. Trust me. I wasn't a tenor, so I couldn't play the leads. I had to play the supporting characters.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So she was like, okay, there's this project that this guy George Shaw is doing. It's a Star Wars musical thing. Here's his info. I think that you would be really great at it. So I followed up, sent George an email with like my vocal reel, with like my musical theater reel and my resume and things. And I can't remember if it was an immediate casting or whether we chatted for a minute first, but then, but eventually it was like, yeah, we would love to have you be Luke. And so I met George for the first time when I went over to his apartment to record all of the music. I met Jeffrey first day on set, and Andrew I met today on this panel.
Really?
Yeah, literally. Crazy.
Yeah. We've never been in the same room.
We did that on purpose.
Last year when 7/16 when 7/16 was at a film festival in New York City, I messaged him and be like, hey, I know we've never met, but we did this thing together and I'd love to come see it. And I wasn't able to make it to the screening because I think tickets sold out or whatever. But yeah, we were the first two on this little call, and I was like, it's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, I know. It's like, at some point, like maybe in the third one, we'll finally get a chance to duet,
yes.
something. Even though I don't know where, but I'll put that in George. There, I saw George's eyes just went up. That means he's
Endor and Tatooine in that first one. It's like I literally save Han. Luke saves Han, and then on Endor, they're working together. So.
Oh, you know what? You could. I think there could conceivably be something on the by Jabba's thing when Luke is saving Han. There could be some kind of a duet singing thing happening.
Like
there.
when the two of them are talking on the skiff going down, and goes, I think my eyesight's getting better. Instead of a big dark blur, I see a big light blur.
Yeah. There you go. It's in your brain now.
Actually, and the way I met Andrew was I was the music director of the Geeky Awards, which was a fun award show, kind of like for the Comic-Con audience. And Andrew, you were, I think, we had done some videos of like kind of fun sketches, like for interstitials between scenes. And so you had been in some of those, and then you were also presenting an award. And I think we were just talking backstage at one point. I was like, I've got this idea.
Yeah, and it was I think you're like, hey, have you ever thought of would you consider playing Han Solo in this Star Wars musical thing I'm doing? And I was like, yes. But how quickly can I say that? And he's like, well, it's probably not going to be much money and sure. I'm like, yes. Like I had no it was awesome. I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, that was the only thing I didn't get to do is walk away with a costume, even though it crossed my mind.
So anyways,
it was the Bespin jackets, the brown, the blue Bespin one. That's the best Han outfit I think of all of them.
Thank you, Nicole.
Oh, and we didn't talk about Haviland Stillwell. So she was a wonderful Leia performer, and for me as a director to work with all of you guys was such a treat. I mean, Andrew is I didn't even have to tell him anything. In fact, I chose not to speak with him, and he was able to get everything I needed. But no, really, everyone coming from different backgrounds, because I think Haviland did a lot of on and off Broadway projects. Yeah,
she's been on Broadway a couple times. I think Fiddler on the Roof and Les Miserables and those revivals in the mid 2000s.
Also been on screen a lot. Yeah. She's in Magic Mike of all things.
I gotta rewatch that.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw her in Selma too.
She's also got her.
Oh really?
And her really. That's awesome. Yeah, and her vocals.
One of the best singers I've ever worked with. Nails, her takes.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no editing. Her pitches right on. Yeah. It's just incredible.
Yeah. That was definitely she was amazing. So sorry she couldn't be here today. But there's another question. All live action actors in your musicals, any voice actors you mentioned?
So basically everyone in our project did their own vocals except for characters that have masks like Boba Fett and Darth Vader. So I'm the voice of Darth Vader, and I'm a terrible singer. The only reason I did was because I knew I could mangle it and distort it to make it sound like Vader. It would turn out okay, and it wouldn't reveal how bad of a singer I am, and everything's auto-tuned. And then we had a friend who did stormtroopers and because we had a chorus of stormtroopers, and then a buddy of mine also did Boba Fett in our sequel, so that's coming up.
And then Sean does impressions of Obi-Wan and both old and young, and does Yoda as well. So he has his Yoda puppet that, in addition to his charity, he does a lot of charity work and goes to hospitals and visit kids as Obi-Wan with his Yoda puppet and talk to them. So, and he also has a podcast, and he's done a lot voiceover work throughout the years, I think. So he's not only Obi-Wan, but in the sequel in Empire's New Groove, he's the voice of Yoda as well, which was also fun to be singing to a puppet.
Yeah, it was really amazing to actually have Yoda on set and have him
come have Yoda
on set.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And we got him into the backpack, and of course we had to film just for fun me running down the hallway with Yoda Yoda in a backpack while I run, that Seagull's bad lip reading of Empire. We just it was necessary.
Josh asked us, what are we most proud about the Star Wars musical? And then George, can you also show those cool frame thing that we created?
Oh yeah, let me grab it. Someone else talk.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say I just think that the whole production in general I think it's pretty ingenious, and the music's fantastic, and it's I was just really impressed by how well it all came together, especially considering all these people spending this time and working on it for free and taking together. I mean, it was really one of those things where, because a lot of times you do stuff and you just don't know how it's gonna work out. It's some people can talk the talk but can't walk the walk, and and Jeff and George and everybody involved really could walk the walk, which was really awesome. So I think I'm just proud to just be able to know that it's out there, and I actually personally don't sound horrible because I was able to be auto-tuned well by George.
Something. I mean, it's very similar to Andrew. I'm very proud of just the overall film. I think is so much fun, and it was also fun. Like there have been times, like there was one time I was at a cabaret performance in New York City. This was just a couple of years ago, and I happened, there was a guy who had a Star Wars hat, and I from Episode 7. I was like, oh, I really want that hat. That's an awesome hat. And we started chatting, or whatever, and I mentioned I did Star Wars musical, and his face just goes, wait, what? Like he didn't recognize me as having been in it because he had seen it and he loved it. And then that night, apparently he went and showed all of his friends. So it was, kind of fun moments like that, that it really did spread like wildfire over those. I mean, we have 470,000 views at this point. It's 6 or so years later. But something that I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, Jeffrey, but there were, it was a very inclusive set with regards to minorities and everything. I remember if I remember correctly, you specifically were trying to bring in a lot of fellow filmmakers who were of an Asian minority and other and whatnot to really get them involved in the production. And I remember just hearing that and being very proud of that we were making it a very inclusive place.
Thank you. Yeah, it means a lot to me. Mostly they were just friends that we could bring.
They're just friends who work for free. So.
I mean, there are a lot of friends, they're like hobbyists and mostly only making smaller YouTube videos. And, at that time I had already finished the Little Turkey Reporter with George, and that was an award-winning short. And then I was in grad school. And so these young filmmakers were getting more exposure to a different approach to filmmaking. Because one thing I told George at the beginning, I was like, we're going to present this on YouTube, but it's not going to be YouTube quality. We're going to make it better than people expect. Because at that point, there wasn't as many refined works on YouTube. And then one of my proudest things was like, actually, probably my best works have happened as a collaboration with George. And so working with him and then everyone that wanted to support him and hopefully myself as well, and mostly all of you, we got so much talent involved, and, we've been able to show this and share this at so many venues. And like, even we got to meet Grant Imahara or connect with him and talk about that aspect of Star Wars by showing it at the Geeky Awards. So yeah, I mean, I could never ask for anything more. So yeah.
So we've got about 90 seconds left, so I'll just kind of finish this up. I'm so proud of the final product and of everyone's contributions from our casting crew and all you guys. And here's just a quick look at the artwork that William Wu did. It's sort of 3D, so you can kind of...
Wow.
So, he painted it like Photoshop layers. And so we were able to actually print them on separate pieces of plexiglass. Here's the hanger. You can see Darth Vader and Obi-Wan in there, kind of. So we were able to kind of print that out and make kind of this 3D art that some of them we are giving out to our backers.
I love how somebody just asked, did Disney
my dad.
come after you?
Not yet.
Fortunately, not.
Not until they release a Broadway musical.
It's actually helped get me meetings at Disney for different divisions. So it's helped in that regard, actually. And with that, I just want to thank everyone for checking us out and listening to us ramble. And please go take a look at our video on YouTube. I'll post the link right now, and please share it.
And don't forget, we during this Force weekend, this panel weekend, we are raising money for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So for the greater LA. So if you can, please go back up through the chat. There's a link at the top. Please make a donation and help bring hope and love to those kids who are going through such a tough time, especially seeing what Chadwick Boseman did through his 4 years fighting his own sickness and going to see those kids and giving them hope. Just
Yeah, and again, you know, even if it's a buck, it doesn't matter. Like you know, 200,000 people give a buck. It's a lot of money that goes to some really great things. So please,
Right, thanks so much.
even if it's just
Bye.
a little bit, it makes a difference.
thank you.
Bye.
All right, thank you.